You know, there have been many books on Alexander, Hannibal, and Caesar, but what makes mine distinctive is the comparative approach. If you study an individual or a single event, you run the risk of confirmation bias. You have a theory, you look for evidence, you find the evidence, and you declare the theory true. It's much better, a much more honest enterprise to have a control case and to look comparatively. And I think the big payoff of this study is precisely that I'm looking at comparative cases that allow us to see the strengths and weaknesses of each of these men in perspective. I've used this approach before in my scholarship. I've done comparisons, sometimes outlandish, of the Peloponnesian War and the Cold War and even of the Korean War. I've used case studies in business to illuminate ancient history. And in a way, this all goes back to the ancients themselves, because one of the greatest works of comparative study of them all was Plutarch's Parallel Lives of the Noble Greeks and Romans. And in a way, I think this book follows in Plutarch's footsteps. In Masters of Command, I analyze war according to 5 stages. These stages are attack, resistance, clash, closing the net, and knowing when to stop. The first stage, attack, results from a decision to go to war and a war plan, which you carry out. The second stage, resistance, it reflects the inevitable fact that no war plan survives contact with the enemy. The third stage, clash, represents a battle or battles in which one side defeats the other on the battlefield. The fourth stage, closing the net, can be the most challenging and complex stage of all, because in this stage, a leader has to adroitly move from success on the battlefield to victory overall, to getting the enemy to recognize that he's been defeated. And the fifth and final stage, knowing when to stop, lays the foundation for the post-war world. Because you can end a war in a way that just leads to another war. A successful general will end a war precisely in a way that he builds a foundation for peace. Now, why 5 stages of war? There could be more and there could be fewer. I think that most people think that war is fairly simple. It has a beginning and a middle and an end. And I feel that as an American, this reflects our impatience as a people and our desire for quick fixes and easy solutions and simple stories. But the reality is very different. And I chose these 5 stages because I wanted to emphasize 2 things. First, that every war plan runs into trouble. There is no general who ever runs a war and everything goes completely smoothly. Indeed, the mark of a good general is knowing how to respond to adversity and mischance. Second, I wanted to make the point that you can win the battle and yet lose the war. Indeed, that's what happened to us in Vietnam. So these 5 stages of war illustrate these points well. Successful commanders exemplify 10 qualities: ambition, judgment, leadership, audacity, agility, infrastructure, strategy, terror, branding, and divine providence. Divine providence is different from the other 9 qualities. These other 9 qualities are ones that we cultivate. Divine providence is something that we might pray for, but it's not in our own control. And I think it reflects the fact that great leaders, great commanders, as much as they try to succeed, well, success is not always in their hands. And they can only hope that they will be fortunate as well.